Hello, Jason. Oh, I forgot to put do not disturb. How do I do this every time? I don't do not disturb on my phone. Did you do it on yours?
I did.
See, you're smarter than I am. What you got going on today, Jason?
A little bit of this, a little bit of that, causing trouble, trying to stay up in this crazy market, trying to not have my head pop off,
Yes.
The
So
usual.
I'm busy too. So after this, I'm going to go help a girl in my company who, that wants to talk about, the pay-per-click advertising stuff, and you know me, right? So I am number one in my company. This for people who want to know, of course. It's so cool. And then what do you think of this cool little graphic I made on Canva?
The
little graphic listing your home. What?
That looks like a pretty cool graphic. That looks awesome.
Fancy.
I like that. I like it. Fancy.
What? Okay, so I'm Katie, and that's Jason.
I'm Jason.
We are your dynamic real estate lending duo.
You know what? We need a theme song. You ever think about that?
That is really funny that you just said that, because literally just now, as I was making my delicious coffee that already has a lipstick stain on it, I have a friend, actually a high school boyfriend, who wrote a song for me in high school. And
hold on, did he have lamps in his house or no?
He did have. He did it, and he still has lamps. Win-win. But he has written jingles and stuff. He used to live in Dallas, and he wrote jingles and stuff. I'm going to ask him. And I don't know if he'll want to, but I'm going to ask him if he wants to write one for the show, and also Candor with Katie, of course. But
of course.
Cool, right? So today I thought we'd talk about this because there's a lot of people listing their homes. So Jason, you can chime in on this because what should a seller do? What in your head? What are some of the things that you think about? Like when you haven't listed a home in a while, you keep buying homes. I mean, he's kind of a baller, you guys. Like, he's got homes like, I don't know. But when you buy a home, what is it that you look at when you're going through then? Like, what appeals to you?
So here's the thing. If the typical buyer is anything like me, part of the problem that we have is with imagination. Sometimes it's hard for us to visualize. So whenever you're listing a home, one of the things that I think is the most important thing that you can possibly do is declutter, right? Because what happens in a home, whenever you've got a lot of stuff, and you know what, it probably looks great and all that stuff, but it makes your home look smaller. And again, it's one of those deals where it's, oh,
I already have that. What?
We didn't even talk about it.
We didn't even talk about it. It's insane.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's probably the single biggest thing that you can do is declutter, because it's absolutely huge when you're walking into a house, to not just feel enclosed by everybody's stuff, and again, our imaginations sometimes are a little bit limited, right? And so, the idea of less is more, most definitely, I would say, is tip number one.
Yeah, because you basically want to make it look like a show home. Less is more is absolutely the phrase. I should have put that after the declutter there because people when it looks messy, it's just gross.
Yeah.
I mean, there's really no other way to put it. Here's the other thing when you're talking about declutter. So I'll just kind of bop around with how I had these here. Make sure it's clean. Have you ever walked into a house, Jason, and you're like, oh my God. And so what do you think immediately if you walk into a home that's not kept clean? And even if it's just a little bit not clean or like a lot of it not clean.
Well, sometimes I think that they must like cats a whole lot more than I do. It's just one of those things. It's the overall appeal, and here's the thing you got to remember. Okay. Human beings, here's what we do. We buy emotionally, we justify logically. You've heard me say that 100 times.
Yeah.
And what happens, and when you walk into a house and it doesn't meet your expectation relative to it being clean, emotionally that affects us.
Yeah.
It makes us feel a certain way. And the way that we feel is going to affect whether or not we do or don't want to make an offer or how much we're willing to pay for that house.
And that's true. And then people are gonna ask for it to be clean also in a Binzer, let's say, like, when they are asking for repairs and stuff. But I immediately go to, oh my God, this is a lot I'm gonna have to deal with just in order to make my home livable for me. Because, as soon as someone puts an offer on a house, they say, we bought a house. Do they have it yet? No. It's not over till the fat lady sings, right? But they're maybe thinking that if I put an offer on this house and it's mine, I'm going to have to do all of this work, and it's very unappealing. It's just
and think about it like this: if this is how you handle the things that I can see, what about the things that I can't see?
Yeah, like the well in the basement. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Price it right. Now, you as a lender, Jason, why is that important? Because so I'm making a joke about this because I said it's perceived value too, perceived versus like actual value. And so I'm laughing and I was like, well, I could sell I want to sell my house for $1 million and then say, well, I'm giving up $730,000 here. You know what I mean? You're not giving it up when it's not worth that. That's the thing. So like, what is that?
Here's the thing I'd say too. The thing that you have to remember is whenever you're entering into a real estate contract with somebody, let's be honest, you have a mutual interest. Okay. The mutual interest from a seller's perspective is I want to sell my home because there's something else that I want to do. The buyer's mutual interest is I want to buy the home that you're selling because this is the place that I'd like to live. Right. And I think what happens whenever we deal with things like price and they're, really outlandish sometimes where they do it, it takes that mutual interest that we have and it makes that process adversarial a little bit.
Oh,
and
nice.
Let me tell you something, and I believe this, I believe it with all my heart. Generally, you're going to catch more bees with honey than you are with vinegar. So be reasonable, because the idea is you're going to want to deal with somebody who's reasonable. So if you're an unreasonable person and you just think, hey, I'm going to take it to the seller or the buyer because that's this type of market or whatever, I'm going to be honest, that's probably the type of buyer that you're going to attract, somebody who doesn't mind mixing it up and being adversarial. And so it's one of those things. It's, it's your mutual interest that you work with somebody who's like-minded, who's reasonable. The better that you're going to get along, the better experience and the better deal, in my opinion, that you're probably likely to get.
Yeah. And I tell people, and so this worked for my last listing. I mean, it went 10 days over because they weren't the lender that you are, Jason. And I was frustrated. If I could make everybody on a buy side, I'd be like in heaven, but it was, we had listed it at 210, and we've talked about this on other, check this out PCs, but, and we wanted to get around 225, and that's what we got. And it did appraise at that. It doesn't mean that I listed it low, right? So, because things are changing all the time, but it's like if you list it too high, you're not going to get offers. Even in this market, people are going to go, yeah, I'd rather move on somewhere else. Like they're willing to pay $30,000, $50,000 over, but if it's overpriced, it kind of takes away from that. You know what I mean? Like they're not going to waive the appraisal or, do any of that stuff.
Well, and what I'd say, Katie, is the brilliance behind your approach in doing that is you have a very good recognition of understanding who it is that you're negotiating against, right? And so when you price a home properly, okay, you're understanding that this is priced proper. And since it's proper in a market like this, there's going to be a potential of a lot of different offers that are going to come in on it. And so here's the best part. You're letting those buyers negotiate against each other to the benefit of your seller, right? And what happens when you price that property improperly and you set it too high, you rob your seller of the opportunity for those buyers to negotiate against each other to get the top dollar. So it's one of those situations where, again, understanding the market, understanding how buyer behavior works allows you to maximize every single dollar for your seller. Does that make sense?
Jason, I could not have put it better. I don't know what I'd do without you. Seriously, that's amazing. Yes, and I think, and as we do these shows, I'm thinking, gosh, now we have other things to talk about. Let's talk about, I was just thinking of something and it left my head. I don't know, maybe it's too early for me, but I mean, I'm up at like 3 a.m. sometimes. I'll think of it in a minute, because here's this other one, natural light. So I don't have it all going on right now. It's hot, right? But for showings in particular, so if you're going to list your house and stuff, you want natural light because it brings what do you think about a dark house? Like, how does that make you feel?
Well, it feels like you're in a dungeon, right? Like castles are cool to look at. They're not great to live in, right?
Unless you're Braveheart. Wait, he didn't live in a castle.
No. He did not live in a castle.
He definitely did not live in a castle.
No, not at all.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it takes away from the appeal. You got a bunch of heavy curtains, in front of the window, and it's like you got tinfoil up, like that people put tinfoil on windows. Looks awful. Hey, it might be in there, but yuck.
Right.
That's one thing I dislike about summer. My bedroom window is on the south side. It gets sun all day. Now, thankfully, I have plants. Plants, not lamps, but I do have lamps in there. Plants out back that kind of help. It's in front of the window, so they're like shrubs, a shrubbery. And I made them, not kept them underneath like the top of the house, so that they would still. It really protects my room and like not getting as hot. And I have heat blocking curtains, so I like waking up to natural light. So in the summer, sometimes I'm like, oh, I don't like it. I have to open my curtains right away, and then close them when I leave because it just gets too hot. But natural light, especially when you're doing showings, if you don't want to leave, if you don't want to do it because it's too hot, at least when you leave, when somebody scheduled the showing, leave the curtains open and stuff for your natural light, right?
No doubt. Most definitely.
Okay. I went off on a tangent on that. Have a plan for your pets. Now, that cat is as big as that dog for some reason.
It's Garfield.
Yeah. Emojis. So have a plan for your pets. And what that means is when you have showings, you need to take your pets away from the house. What have you seen? What bothers you when you go into a house and there's pets there?
Well, there's a lot of different things. I mean, nobody likes to get bit, whenever you're looking at a house. And look, most pets are totally fine that way, but you are having people that they don't know come into their environment. And, why take the risk with it? I mean, pets, generally you keep them well groomed, but they still smell like pets, and it's one of those deals, right? Like you're selling the single largest asset on your personal balance sheet. And if you were selling the most valuable thing that it is that you own, wouldn't you want to give yourself every single opportunity to attract top dollar when you do that? And so I'm a pet guy. I got 4 dogs. I love them to death, but definitely making sure that the property is free to be observed without the worry of that, without any of that.
Yeah.
It's really the way to go.
Well, it's true too, because, sometimes they'll leave the dogs out back. And if it's in the summer, first of all, abusive, I think. And then people can't go outside to see the backyard in its full capacity. And that's frustrating. And then even if you have a dog in a crate, it stresses that dog out. You can see it in their face. It stresses me out because I'm a pet person too. So they just get in the way. So if you're going to sell your house, like you said, how do you put that? It was really good. Have a plan. I mean, even if it's neighbors, can my dogs hang out in your backyard for today? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Doing showings. Have someone go there and take them away, like that kind of a thing.
Take them to a dog park. Let them have a day out. There's a lot of different things that you could do, right?
No, listen. If you can't do it, it's fine. But I don't like it when people leave pets out free. Like, hey, don't let the cat out. I mean, that's a big responsibility. Okay, so one time we had people buying a house. Do you remember the story? And they had there was a little chihuahua in there, and we had to do something, measure something, and they were mad because we were measuring. He's like, "You didn't tell us you were going to do that." And I think we said we were going to go check on something, and they just pulled out the tape measure, wanted to measure. They had a camera there, and there was they had a little dog, and then the inspection happened. Okay, so because it was before the inspection for some reason. And the inspector called me and he's like, I don't see a dog here. And I was freaked out. I'm like, what do you mean? Like, did it get out? Boom, boom, boom. And he's like, well, there's a little white chihuahua out front. And I was like, well, take it inside. Like, what do we do? I think I called you and Devin on this.
You did.
And I was like, oh my God, what do we do? And Devin was like, don't take it in there. Like, blah, blah, blah. And I was stressing out. Come to find out, it wasn't their dog. They had actually taken the dog away to help with the inspection, but they didn't tell us. So we almost grabbed some neighbor's dog and stuck it in the house.
With every buyer comes a chihuahua.
Exactly. So I guess if you're going to remove your pet, also tell the real estate agents that are showing the house what's going on. Hey, we're and then this goes along with it. Self-explanatory. Get rid of odors. Gross. Okay, so when you walk into a place and you have a bunch of those good smellies plugged into the wall, I immediately think, uh-oh, what are they covering up? Do you know what I mean?
I
Good
do.
smells are nice, but if you have big odors, there's all kinds of things that you can do to get rid of them. We'll talk about that at another time. And what do you think about staging? Like, you don't have to, right? What would you say a disadvantage and an advantage of that would be?
I mean, the advantage is obviously you're presenting it, in the most, pristine way possible if you stage it, so it's it can be a very good exercise. In this market, probably a little less important, right? Because again, what happens when you have demand up here and supply down here, those ancillary beneficial things that you do become a lot less important. So it's one of those deals where, am I getting a marginal dollar for dollar increase on the expense of staging my home in the sales price? And I don't think that right now you're going to get that. So it's kind of like a wasted expense in this market.
Because if you're doing things like pricing it right, making sure it's clean, decluttering, decluttering, having a plan for your pets, that's going to take care of a lot of that. And then this too, curb appeal.
Oh, yes.
Right? So you don't want to drive up to a house that has a bunch of weeds in it. Looks like they've never taken care of it. The backyard's all just, even if it's dirt, at least you could have it. I don't know how to make that appealing. Like if you're one who doesn't really care about your backyard and it's fine, but
I think on this one, the thing that's as important as anything else is I don't want the perception that I'm walking into a maintenance nightmare. And if I see a whole bunch of weeds in a yard or whatever, the first thing that goes to my mind is, well, I'm going to inherit those weeds, or weeds grow like that here, or whatever it is. This house is probably a lot of work. And when it's not there and the yard is well groomed and all that type of stuff, doesn't even hit my radar. It's just like, oh, hey, this looks great. And what you're doing, whenever even if you don't have the best looking yard, if at least you have it maintained, what you're doing is you're introducing one less thing in the mind of your potential buyer, which is going to help you as a seller, right?
It's something you don't think about, really. Because it's like, oh, I forgot to check that, or like I didn't even think about that. Like other things to think about, and we'll talk about that later when buying. Like check and see if there's a school bus stop close. We had clients buy, them really well. They've bought a few times with us and sold, and they didn't realize that there was a kid's bus. Go back at certain times of the day and like figure that stuff out, right? Okay, and then of course, hire the right realtor.
Please.
Me, who's going to help with all of this stuff? Because
call Katie. Please just call Katie.
Call me. Just phone moi. It's important because it is stressful, even if you're going to make a boatload of money, and you need someone to help you take care of this stuff and help you with all of these things on how to best represent your house and to get you the best deal. And then lenders can help you sell too. Jason, did you know that?
Believe it or not, I did actually. Yes.
How could you help me with a sale? Because we're going to have one coming up soon.
Yeah. Well, there's a few different things that we have the ability to do. The first thing is that we, end up knowing a whole lot of home buyers that we qualify, right? So one of those things that's really nice is whenever you have something that you're bringing to the market, if we know who the buyer is and we know the strength of the qualification, it's our relationships that sometimes help you, to be able to identify, solid, pre-qualified, interested buyers. But here's the other thing. A lot of the marketing that we can do for you as well. We have a pretty robust social media reach. We put together websites for your listings for you with mortgage calculators on them. The websites that we put together talk about the schools that are available around, the different amenities, neighborhood demographics. There's a whole lot of marketing that your lender does with your real estate agent to help you present the most professional, exposed property that you possibly could. And all of those, they're just little points of differentiation, again, that set you apart in the marketplace.
Yeah. And there was things we were talking about before COVID, doing an open house on a Friday night when you like to list on Friday. And then, you pair with your lender and you can get a food truck, you can do hot dogs, whatever it is, and do like a neighborhood open house, which is kind of cool to showcase it.
Well, and let me tell you one more thing that might not have been on your list, but I think it's also just as important as anything else. In a market like this, when you have a home that's priced properly and you have a whole bunch of buyers that are pushing that needle up, it's always good to be able to have the benefit to call up your lender and say, hey, I'm looking at these pre-qualification forms. Is there anything else that I should be asking these lenders? Is there anything on your deal?
Yes.
So again, just having industry knowledge of how approvals are done, we can look at those documents and we can say, hey, listen, you've checked this box. Have you done your homework on this? And when you call the lender and you catch them flat-footed on that question, what you're doing is you're protecting your seller from a contract that has the potential to go sideways.
This is what we do all the time, you guys. I call Jason everything. Hey, where'd our name go?
I don't know.
Oh, I don't know what I did there. Oh, well.
Oh, well.
Okay, so we're going to move on. I'll go quickly through this, and then we'll look at some funny pictures. Oh, there's our names. Hi. I guess when I put up these things, they go away. So now we're going to talk about seller mistakes and or hindrances when selling your home. Quickly go through it. Showing availability. So if you're just like, I've seen a few showings like where it's in the MLS where it's like showings only on Tuesdays and Thursdays from 1 to 4. And it's like, oh, how do you do that? You know what I mean? Like if you can't get to the house.
Well, and what happens when you limit the availability to your property? It might not limit your offers that you get on that property. It may not in this type of market, but what will happen is those offers aren't as solid. So if someone's not viewed the property and you get an offer on it, and you think, hey, this is great, don't be surprised when that offer cancels during the inspection period and leaves you out holding the bag because they didn't have the time to tour your property.
Thank you. And they're going to be, exactly. Okay. Staying during showings. This is just awkward. I mean, we've gone into places where literally a guy was sitting in his boxers in a chair in the living room watching TV. And I'm like,
because why not?
Yeah, because why not?
I've heard stories too. Al Bundy.
Yeah, so I've heard stories too. Where this is where I'm always like, when the home is occupied as a realtor, I'm always knock knock ding dong, hello, because I've heard some stories. So don't stay during showings. If you have to be there, go out back when they're in the house, and when they go out back, take a walk around the block, do whatever, just drive around the corner. You know what I mean? I tell my people that are listing, so Laura, who's on my team, is listing her house on Friday, and I said, go out of town and take your dogs this weekend because it's going to be crazy. Well, now we've set up an open house for Friday night, Saturday, and Sunday, so there's going to be times that house is open, which is great, but they're not going to be there.
Yeah.
And neither the dogs.
Yeah.
Anything else on that, Jace?
No, what you said is perfect. Absolutely spot on.
Okay, so unwilling to negotiate. What does this mean to you? If a seller's unwilling to negotiate?
If seller's unwilling to negotiate, again, it's one of those situations where, you have two people with a mutual interest.
Morning, Danae.
Hey, Danae. It has the potential, not always, but it has the potential, to make that transaction, again, adversarial. And it's one of those deals, it doesn't mean that you have to offer terms because, the reality of the situation is it's a buyer's market. But part and parcel saying, hey, this is something I'm not going to participate in, you don't know what it is that they're going to ask sometimes. So you want to leave your options open because it gives you more room to be able to have the back and forth and find a solution to whatever it is trying to be negotiated that's acceptable to both. But just saying, hey, I'm going to take my toys and go home and not participate.
Yeah.
It makes it difficult.
One of the tricks that I do, I don't know if I should tell people this, but if you're a seller and you have a washer and dryer, you really like it. And we'll say, okay, that's not included in the listing. But then if someone asks for it, then you seem more willing to give. Like, okay, sure, that's a good offer. We'll go ahead and throw in the washer and dryer.
Sure.
Or the refrigerator, whatever it is. You know what I mean? Or the patio furniture in the back. So that is a type of negotiation also where you can sort of appeal to the buyer, in that respect. So here's the other thing, refusing to make repairs. All houses since February 2017 are sold as is. All of them are. They're always doing addendums. House is sold as is. House is sold as is. And it's really frustrating. Does that mean that you can't ask for repairs, Jason?
It does not mean that at all.
Exactly. So what does that tell you when a seller is like, we're not going to make repairs? Like, just right up front, sign this addendum.
Well, it makes me feel like there's something that I don't know. It makes me feel like there's some, and again, right? It's one of those deals. you might not want to make repairs. You don't have to necessarily advertise that, right? You weaken your position
Exactly.
by declaring what you're going to do. And again, I mean, I think there are good reasons why people sometimes they're well-intentioned when they say, hey, we're not going to do this because of, either it's a relatively new house or I just remodeled it, or there's 100 reasons why, and we can justify a lot of stuff, but why declare it? Why put that out there? If you have the opportunity, to, again, keep that dialogue open and going, because just because they ask for it doesn't mean that you have to do it.
Yeah.
But again, it's one of those finer points in negotiations.
That is such a good point, Jason. It just made me think about, Brian says, just take the repairs out of the price. Now that's an interesting comment. Can you do that, Jason?
Well, that is a technical question, isn't it?
Yes,
the answer is that you're not supposed to negotiate the price on the Benzer, but there are circumstances where they may.
Yeah.
Right.
So the thing is, let's say I want all this fixed, but instead of fixing this, I'll take $5,000. You can't say that, like you said, it's the buyer inspection notice to seller. You can't negotiate price in that period, but a seller can offer in lieu of repair, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. So yes, you're correct, Brian, and also you got to be sneaky about how you do it. You have to be aware. Yeah. Yeah. Well, called, I don't know. Here we go. I can't think of the word. Like, woo. All right, we're gonna share now. These are some pictures, you guys, of what not to do in a listing with your pictures. Okay. So Jason, here's the first one. Look at that. Now here's the thing. Can you see what's in there? So I'm gonna.
Oh yeah.
Hang on a sec here.
I'm wondering when the indoor monsoon is coming.
I got to figure out how I can share multiple pictures at a time because I have to keep going through this whole thing. But now here's the thing. Like, so you saw that picture. I lightened it up. So I'm not doing that with all the pictures because you need to see how terrible they are in the first place. But at least you can kind of, in this room, like, why would you? I mean, even if you have a patio table in your kitchen, do you really need to have the umbrella in there?
Hey, do you think that they put the umbrella down at night and then in the morning they put the umbrella up?
I mean, maybe they put the shade there to keep the sun out of the window, All right, so we got a couple more here. So this, I'm loving having this wireless mouse thing. Okay, look at this. When they told you to paint the house, it'll increase the curb appeal.
Because why not, right? What that is? That is. I'm certain that the person who owned this house was an artist, and they were going for some, impressionistic art thing or something.
No, and this could honestly be tenants. This could be something where tenants or people that move out, they do this just to spite someone else, and that's a picture of this. But if that was a picture of a listing, it's pretty bad. Okay. So then we have. Okay, what kind of a picture is this? What are they doing? Do you see that? Where it's like, are they moving it? Like the sink and the toilet are blurred?
They attempted to take a panoramic photo in the bathroom.
Because bathrooms are so big.
Yeah, that's right. So
hey. Okay, then we have, do you see it? Do you see what I see in this one?
Oh, of course, yes. Because Casper hanging out there is, normal, right?
Looks like it has eyes on there.
That's exactly what that looks like.
Boo.
My goodness.
So, man commented on the last one here. He said repo. It could be a repo. That one with the paint. Yeah. Okay. So next up we have, after all my clicks. All right. Now this one. What is this?
Well, I think that's pretty obvious what that is. That's a listing from
hell. I mean, are those deer, antelope? What are those?
Well, see, this was a movie set for a horror movie that they were making, right? And they had just got done filming one of the scenes, and so they just didn't have time to pick it up, I guess.
And honestly, could they have put smaller pictures on the wall to showcase?
My personal favorite is the big turkey hanging out over the deer in the front, right? Like just right between them. Because
is that half of a turkey on the wall? What is that? Or is that a fan? What?
No, it's half of a turkey. You got like a duck on the.
Jason, what is in that room that is a requirement for me in going to people's houses?
At least they have a lamp. At least they have a lamp.
He's got.
You know what? This could work. This has potential.
Listen, if the guy has a lamp, we're good.
Yeah, you're good. That's all you need, right?
Okay, so next up we have, this is, okay. Really? Like, why did they?
Oh my God.
Does the creepy guy staring at you while you sleep come with the house?
That's the worst picture I've ever seen.
I know. And like the coloring and stuff, like I showed you with the first two pictures, you can edit a crappy picture to make it look a little bit better.
Katie, here's what I want you to do. After today's podcast, I want you to post that picture and ask people to caption it for us.
Okay,
I want to see who has the best caption for that last picture.
I'm gonna lighten it up though so you can see the guy better. Okay. So wow. Like people live like this. And then this is like my picture. Hi, this is my living room. Buy my house, please. Don't do this as a lister, you guys. All right. A few more. I know you got to go soon. Okay, last one. Okay, last two. Do you suppose they're trying to use this as a hot tub or a pool?
Oh.
And like it barely fits in I mean, it's hysterical, right?
Have you ever actually tried to keep those from turning green? Because it's almost impossible.
Well, I bought an above ground pool last year, remember?
Oh, you did?
And mine was awesome. And so I'm going to put it up again. I got to fix the bottom with the sand, but I don't know. In the house, like it's not getting any air, natural air, you know what I mean? Like, and look, they have brooms, like regular brooms.
They can advertise that they have an indoor pool in their home.
Or a hot tub or whatever it is. Human is what that is. Okay, and then this one was just funny to me. If you can read this. Oh, where did you go? Oh,
that's perfect.
Yeah, it says my parents painted the house while I was away. Guess which room is mine?
That's too good. You know what? A plus for dad.
That's a funny joke. That's a funny joke.
I love it.
Yeah. Okay. Are you ready? Oh wait, listen. Brian says, "Score, I'm in." LOL. Yes. Deer, turkey, and then whatever. There was a duck. I think Jason said too.
There was a duck too. There was a duck. Don't miss the duck.
Okay, so guess what time it is? Weird in the news. See, we need a theme song for that too.
We do.
Okay,
yeah.
So here we go. All right, share the screen. Hang on a sec now. Got to figure out what I'm doing. Okay. Okay, this is bizarre. All right, I can't see. Do you see this?
Yes.
Okay, I got to look on my phone because for some reason it doesn't go through there as well. Okay, so this is a worm-nado. So it's like a tornado made out of worms. And it's in New Jersey, okay? It's got scientists baffled, it says. Okay? Spring rains bring scores of earthworms to the surface, and this resident of Hoboken, New Jersey was out for a walk in the park near the Hudson River, and he spotted hundreds of worms in this like formation. They can't figure out what's going on. So it's tempting to imagine that the worms were aligning themselves in a swirl in preparation for the worm moon, which is the super moon that illuminated the night sky just a few days later, which is weird, right? Like worms are guided by the moon. But it says worms breathe through their skin. So when heavy or persistent rain saturates the soil with water, they must tunnel to the surface or risk drowning. So I just didn't know it was that many worms. Like, that's a lot of worms. Like,
who knew?
And then there's a bad article here. I'm going to share this news story. It's terrible. They don't do a good job, but I want you to hear it because I'm going to make fun of how she comes out of it and stuff. So the title is "Gross Worm-nado Takes Over Section of Hoboken Sidewalk." Okay. So I got to rewind it. I try to get past the ads.
And there's something slimy going on in Hoboken. You heard that right. Slimy. Worms are taking over a section of the sidewalk and social media for that matter. News 12 New Jersey's Marcy Rubin explains this worm-nado that is stirring up the mile-square city.
I've never seen them in such a quantity. Yeah, that's disgusting.
That is certainly one word for what's happening in Hoboken, where hundreds of worms, some still alive, many not, are spread out on Sinatra Drive near Maxwell Place, forcing many a pedestrian, scooter, and dog walker to navigate around the creepy crawly.
They're not navigating around them. They're walking right over them.
That's exactly what they're doing.
Yes, they're scattered about now, but check out the pictures snapped as they made this formation after recent rain. Social media jumping all over this one, dubbing it a worm tornado or wormnado.
That looks like something out of like a horror film.
It certainly is a combo of creeped out and curious. We could not get a worm expert on camera today, but social media science class seems to think while the shape is rare, worms often get lost, finding their way back into soil after it rains and apparently form herds as they travel. And in this case, they may have been following each other in circles, looking for their way home when these pictures were taken. Stepping carefully in Hoboken, Marcy Rubin.
Yeah. Stepping carefully? I don't think so. Does it look like he's stepping carefully?
Nobody cares.
And then it says, we couldn't get a worm expert. Okay, we'll just do it anyway.
just Google it, right?
Exactly. So it's just weird. It's just weird. And then I have one more thing because it's cute. Like, I didn't know that about worms. I mean, if you're really interested, there's some interesting facts about worms because they actually blob together and kind of move in these like, and they're called blobs. Like that's the real word. It's a worm blob. And because they get dehydrated too much on their own, right? So they go and then they just kind of travel like that. It's very bizarre. So Brian says, does nobody fish?
Seriously, right? That is the most logical question that you could possibly have.
That's a great question.
Where is your styrofoam cup and soil? Just you're set.
Exactly. I got one more because it's cute. And okay. So rock collector finds rare gemstone that looks like Cookie Monster. Aw.
I saw this.
Isn't that cute?
Yes.
So, like, gemstones are cool, right? You cut them open, the geodes or whatever. And I have my friend that does the painting that taught me how to paint. She does some cool geode paintings. But, I mean, literally, that's exactly what you would think when opening that up, right?
It is.
So there's not really too much to the story except that it says, you never know what you're going to get when you crack open a geode-like rock called an agate. But a new specimen is even more surprising than usual. It looks just like Cookie Monster. So it's just cute.
Just like Cookie Monster.
Just like Cookie Monster. So, hey, you know what? This is a great show. Good info. Yeah. Thanks for joining you guys because we're going to do this normally around 8 to 8:20 on Wednesdays. Jason had to drive down this morning from Prescott, got over to an office and is looking snazzy over there. So, you know what time it is?
Katie, am I doing that right?
Yep.
That's how I feel about your socks. Love your socks.
I feel about your socks too. Okay. Goodbye, everybody. Have a great day. We'll see you next week. Stay on for 2 seconds, Jason.
Yeah.
Bye. We love your socks too.